joining me this evening here on the front porch at Sweet Bee's Honey House. Well, while I was gone, my husband has developed a nasty cold. So my first line of defense is to get him some really healthy food in his system. So to do that, we're going to go ahead and pull from our reserve all of these different vegetables and things that we have been preserving all of this time. We're going to pull those canned items off the shelf. We're going to add them all together, and we're going to make him a hearty soup that's going to for sure make him feel better. So let's get in the kitchen and start utilizing some of the things that we have preserved in the past, adding them together so that we can make him a nice soup. Now, it's not going to end there. Once we make him the soup, we're going to have so much left over because we are utilizing so many jars of our soup or of our vegetables that we put up in the past. We're going to be able to turn this around and take the same soup, and we're going to be able to put it in jars, and we're going to be able to can it. So he'll have a shelf-stable soup on the shelf, and anytime that he either wants to take something to work, or if he comes in and I'm not around and he's hungry for something, he can grab this off the shelf, warm it up, and he will be good to go. So join me in the kitchen this evening as we make a hearty soup for my husband. Okay, family, we're going to start off with about 2 tablespoons of butter and about a medium-sized onion. So we're going to go ahead and get that sauteed. Now, if we would have had a plentiful amount of onions this year, I'd have showed you how to can those. We'll probably get to those next season. We're hoping we have a better crop. So we're just going to go ahead and saute these onions up until they are translucent. Now that our onions are translucent, we're going to go ahead and add some sausage. I've added about 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds of sausage here, and it is those mini links. I know this is going to be a big pot, that's why I use the 2 pounds. The next item that we're adding is some tomatoes. Now these are the tomatoes that we canned earlier in the season. They're just plain tomatoes with a little bit of the juice in them. So we're going to add these in. We're going to give this a good stir, and we're going to go ahead and get ready to add the next ingredient. Okay, family, so the next item that we're going to add is corn. Now, I went ahead and drained my corn. I wanted to make sure all of those juices were off of it, so we're just adding the whole kernels. Now, remember, family, these are the vegetables that we canned. However, if you have not gotten to this point where you have a good amount of things on your shelf, buy these in the store. It still tastes yummy. Our next item that we're pulling off the shelf is our butter beans. And so we're going to add a whole jar of butter beans. Remember to drain the juice off of the butter beans as well. Now, pretty much any kind of vegetable will work here. This is just the combination that we like. Now we're going to add some white acre peas. These always tend to get a little stuck in the jar. So we're going to go ahead and add these in, and we're going to give it a good stir before we add the next ingredient. Next, we're adding some pink eyes. That's what we've always called them. They've got a very beautiful purple hull whenever you're shelling these. I just couldn't find my black-eyed peas, so that's what I substituted. Okay, the next item that we're going to add is some collard greens. Now, not a lot of people add collard greens to their vegetable soup, but we do. We find it very tasty, and so we went ahead and we added it. These are collards that we canned earlier, and so we're going to get these added and stir them into our soup. Okay, family, our last item that we're adding is our vegetable stock. Now, if you remember back, this is the vegetable stock that we made out of our scrap off of our vegetables when we were processing them. We kept them in the freezer, and then we cooked them all off at one time, making sure that we added our spices and seasonings to it. So it's got a little bit of garlic powder, onion powder, salt and pepper. It's got different types of herbs in it where we prepared the stock. So our soup is done. So now all we got to do is allow this to sit and simmer. And we're going to do that for about 25 or 30 minutes, just long enough for our cornbread to get done in the oven. So we're going to go ahead and put the lid on this and season it while our cornbread is cooking up, and then we will be ready to serve it to my husband. Now that our soup has been simmering for 20 minutes or so, it went a little bit over about 25 because that's how long the cornbread took. So now let's plate it up. And oh, just look at that. Yum, yum. Family, I really wanted to show you Jamie's reaction to his homemade soup, but he just wasn't feeling up to it tonight. He's still really puny, so I'm sending him to bed. So while he's in bed, I'm going to go ahead and get this pressure canner ready and get me some jars nice and heated so that we can put this on the rest of this soup. We can go ahead and can it and put it on the shelf for him to utilize at another time. So this is a pressure can. So we're going to be using pint jars for this. So we're going to go ahead and get this pressure canner ready so that we can heat our jars. So we'll have hot jars to put our hot soup in. So we're going to program this for 60 minutes. We're going to go ahead and get our jars in there and get them warming up. And then we'll bring you back when it's time to fill those jars and get them in the canner. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get the rest of the soup ladled up into each one of our jars. I went ahead and prepared one so that we can take it to work, and that's just an easy heat up while I'm at the office. So we're going to go ahead and fill the rest of these jars, leaving 1-inch headspace, and then we're going to take our debubbling tool and we are going to stir this around, making sure we get any air bubbles out. We are going to then remeasure our jar to make sure that we've got that 1-inch headspace. And then we're going to take a wet paper towel, either with vinegar or with water. I'm using a vinegar. Anytime that I cook with a meat or process a meat, I go ahead and use a vinegar because it breaks down the oils and things on the jar a lot better. So that's just one of my rules of thumb that I try to follow when I'm working with any types of meat or even sugars. I'll use a vinegar base instead of just the regular paper towel with water. So now that we've done that, we're going to put our 4 jars canning lid on, and then we're going to put our ring on, and we're going to make that fingertip tight. And now we're ready to put all of these jars in the canner, and we're going to can that for 60 minutes. So family, we are now putting in the last of our jars of soup into our canner. This is a digital Presto pressure canner, and it does things a little bit different than the traditional. The traditional canner, it works under the amount of pressure for your particular elevation, and this one, it goes by the temperature. So it brings the food up to the temperature that it needs to be cooked at, and then it pressures under those circumstances instead of under the pressure of poundage. So it goes by temperature, not pounds. So we're going to go ahead and put the lid on, and you have this in the install position at first. There we go. We've got it in the install, and then we're going to lock it into place. Then we're going to close our little lever over to the right. This is going to lock the lid into place. We're going to turn our regulator to vent, because we are going to vent this just like we would a pressure cooker on the stove. It's going to vent for the 10 minutes after the pressures, the steam gets up and the temperatures get up in this particular thing. It's going to steam for the 10 minutes. So we're going to put it in the vent position. Whenever it's ready for us to turn it over to the canning position, it will let us know. So we're going to go ahead and get this started. We're going to hit the go button, and I'll bring you back whenever it's time for us to change the regulator from vent to can. Our canner is now in the vent mode. It's going to give us 10 minutes of venting just like we do with the one on the stove. It's just going to go ahead and count down backwards, and as soon as it is finished, it will alert us whenever the 10 minutes is up and it's ready to go into the canning mode for us to turn the regulator. Alright, the pressure cooker now has alerted us that it is time for us to move the regulator from the vent position to the canning position because it has steamed for 10 minutes. So we're just going to go up here with our finger and turn it from the vent position to canning. And now we're going to go back and hit the start button, letting the machine know that we have done this. And now it's going to go into our 60-minute canning session, and it'll just count backwards. And we'll bring you back when it's time to go in cool down mode. So now we are in the cool down mode. So the canner is going to go ahead and start the process of cooling down. Once it is safe for us to open the pressure canner, it will let us know so that we can remove the lid and take out our jars. So we'll bring you back when it's time to remove the jars from the canner. Alright, so now it is all done. And all we have to do now is open up the canner and remove our jars. And remember, we're going to want to place these on a cooling pad. Either an actual, like a drying pad that you would use to turn over your dishes on, or take a towel from the restroom, fold it in half and use that. You never want to put a hot jar onto a cold or a cool surface. It could shock the jar. Now, as we're opening up the pressure canner, we need to always remember safety first. There's a lot of steam still inside that pressure cooker. So we need to make sure that when we're lifting it, we're lifting the lid away from us so that we will not suffer a steam burn. So we're just going to go ahead, now that we've got it in the install remove, we're going to open it away from us. See all that steam? We just want to make sure that we're very, very careful when we are removing the lid and taking the jars out. So we're going to go ahead and take our jars and we're going to place them right on our cooling pad so that these jars can cool down naturally and they can seal. And that's what we'll be expecting and checking on to see how many of our jars actually sealed during this canning session. Family, all 8 of our jars sealed. So we're going to go ahead and get these washed up and labeled and put them on our pantry shelves. Another way of us showing love for our family, having quality food for them at any time that they can just come right in, heat that up, and they will be able to have a hearty meal made with love.